Aloha, my wonderful people, and welcome to another beautiful Soul Talk here. I'm so excited for my guest today, and we have Dr. I hope I'm going to say it right, Unnatti Jain. Yes. Dr. Unnatti Jain is a positive force giving a voice to today's teenagers and young adults. She's a parent teen coach who studies behaviors and beliefs behind every action there is an emotion. I love that so much. Hello, Dr. Unnatti. How are you?
You're very well. Thank you, May, for having me. It's beautiful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. That's so amazing. I'm so excited. Tell us a little bit about you, maybe in your own words, what it is that you do today, nowadays.
I'm going to be very short and concise. I help youngsters, youth, step into their maximum potential by developing a growth mindset. Because we all come in our own way. And I think you would understand this because you're a coach yourself, is we really stop ourselves from reaching that new height that we all want somewhere, which is hidden inside of us, but we're just scared to go there. So that fear stops us. So what I really help the youth to do, and my target audience is between 12 to 26. I'm certified. And what I do is I help these youngsters who are going through major transitions or going through self-doubt or going through lack of confidence or anxiety with all of these issues. I help them get rid of those self-limiting beliefs and really step into who they're meant to be.
Wonderful. What would you say is the biggest challenge that they face during that time?
During the coaching time, or what is the biggest challenge that they face?
During that transition time of puberty, hitting, becoming young adults. Because if I remember myself, I think one of the biggest ones for me on my growth was self-confidence, because I felt I didn't like myself the way I was, but I didn't know who I was and who I wanted to be. So that was a huge...
Yes, absolutely. So it's all linked. And I think the youth that I work with, their primary concern right now is really anxiety. And it all stems from anxiety. Because there's so much visual imagery coming at them that they just don't know how to handle it. So because they have anxiety, they get stuck in self-doubt. And then they don't want to step into the unknown. And then the pandemic made it worse because we were all hiding behind screens. We forgot what human connection was all about. So now that the pandemic is over, as it is, they were very anxious. And because of the 3 years of lack of human connection, the anxiety has actually gotten worse. So that's one of the primary concerns that we see as I coach these people.
How do they find you? How do they know that there is someone to help for that?
Interesting question. I have worked with, I don't know, over 500 groups by now. I think they can relate to me because as a coach, I come from a place of non-judgment, and which is what the youth struggle with today, specifically teenagers, because we constantly put them in a box, or we even put our own children in a box, by forming certain impressions about them. So when they come and they work with me and they, as a coach, when they find that there is no judgment and I'm accepting them for who they are and then allowing them to step into whoever they want to be, then it's just very easy for them to relate to me. So when people say teenagers are very tough, I actually find them completely opposite. And that opposite word that comes to me right now is I find them very vulnerable. And I love to tap into that ability to get them to understand who they are.
I love that you are doing this because, if I, remembering my own upbringing and watching so many kids around me, either, children from friends and I've never specialized in children myself, but I've actually, when I was doing shiatsu massage, I had two young kids with me. Their mother knew me, and so she wanted me to, work with them. And I also remember for them being 10, 12 years old and being so like, for me, it was incredible to see how much fears they already had, how much paradigms they had already created in that short life that was tensing their whole body up. It was really incredible to see that. And that's why I think your work, so just from start off, thank you so much for doing this, because I think so many kids can need that help. Because of course, I know as parents, everybody tries their best to support their kids, but there is so much, like you said, it's in the end, it's not just the parents. It's, you start to get social media as an influence, schools, friends. I'm watching my nieces starting to go to kindergarten now, and how they are, sort of being influenced by their friends in kindergarten already, right? And so there's only so much you can do as a parent. So it's great to have a support from your side where it's neutral, and kids can actually feel safer to talk about all those things. It's so great. Thank you.
Yesterday I was in an interview yesterday. I'm talking at a summit, and I was asked the same question. And here's what I will say, as because you brought up the parent, but the parents can only do so much. There is, I think most parents, and somebody asked me this question, why don't people want to recognize that mental health is a thing? Because the minute we as parents recognize mental health as a thing, we feel that we haven't done our job right. And we have failed our child as a parent, which is not true. Like you said, it's not only parents. There is so much coming from these youth, from social media, from all the things happening around the world, the wars, the pandemic. I mean, everything that's happening around, there's so much coming that they need a place. And a coach is most important for these people, because the difference between a coach and a parent is that a parent will advise, a coach will never advise. A coach's job is not to advise. And they come from a place of complete non-judgment and non-emotion. Right? Whereas a parent comes from a place of preconceived notions, a little bit of control, judgment, and a little bit of what they want the child to be. So and from a lot of emotion. So it's very important for a child to have a coach. And it's not a coach versus a parent, or a parent is not doing their job right. It's just you're getting a professional's help who's going to allow your child to step into who they're meant to become.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. What would you suggest to, if we have parents listening in that say, hey, I've noticed my kids is starting to get, I just remembered, because we also have mobbing at school, those kind of things. What would you suggest a parent that is noticing that coming up more and more with their child? What would be like the first step for them to do to support that child?
To make the child feel safe. So create a space for healthy conversation. So sit around the table, address the situation, break it down, identify the pros and cons, talk about what has happened, talk about what can happen. So the minute we bring the situation out in the open, we are breaking it down, and we are telling the child that they're safe, that we're all in this together. So let's talk about it. Versus if you're putting it under the carpet, we're telling the child, I'm as scared as you are. So the child feels very unsafe.
Yes, because I'm not wanting to go into that subject. Yeah.
Right? So the minute a child feels, oh my God, my parent is as scared as me, the child begins to get anxiety, because you are their safe place. So if you're scared, can you imagine the threat that is actually there is what the child's like. So they're getting even scared.
Another thing that I've been noticing, but I'm not sure if it's, how much is it influencing the youth today? Because one of the things, at the moment, I'm seeing how people are talking about neurodivergent children. How we have the ADHD and the autism spectrums, which are all, spectrums where we can go. How strongly do you see those kind of, I don't want to call it a mental problem, because I feel I'm a huge fan of making your ADHD your superpower. So, but how much do you see that in your work with children? How much is that coming up?
It's actually a superpower. ADHD is a superpower. If you've ever seen a child who is facing either autism or ADHD or any such thing, you will know that they also have another power. For instance, let's take ADHD. If you've noticed an ADHD child, the child will be they think in grids. So the way their minds are very organized, but their bodies and minds, and I'm not going to speak any more on ADHD because I'm not a professional, I'm not a specialist. So I'm not a medical professional, so I can't speak about it. But I work with ADHD kids. They are extremely bright, but their thoughts are very jumbled. But if you give them a particular task, they will do it to the T if they have those instructions completely written down. They work in grids, so they're super organized. So any child who comes with any of such special needs have a superpower. And if we were to hone into that superpower and make them grow from there, rather than focusing on what their special need is, then you completely turn the child around. Right? Because you've focused on their growth area. They have something in them which we can use to help them grow and thrive, versus focusing on what they don't have.
Mm-hmm. And I think that goes for any child in general, right? I mean, this is because
it's like any child. I mean, I don't think a special need child is anything different from any other child. It's just that they have different growth areas, and we have different, and the other kids have different growth areas. That's all.
Exactly. No, I think it's so incredible because, I know from my generation, I believe I'm probably ADHD. I was just never, officially diagnosed, but from all the symptoms and everything talking about it. And I've been speaking to friends who have had some form of neurodivergency, in their own path. And again, the same reason, because in our generation, we didn't have parents that thought about it. Like you said, right? Didn't have the fine tune to actually look into, how is the mental health of my child. That's one of the things where I'm so grateful that we're living in a generation where all the kids that are coming up, we're having way more parents that have, are open-minded to actually look into that and support their children in that way, because my generation didn't have that, and I think it's so incredible that you're seeing that, because I know from so many people from the older generation, they were actually told, you're not good enough, you're dumb, you're, like, you don't know anything, you're not good at this. And it's incredible when you look at them, how they learned in spite of, not having that support, because like you said, somehow they made that, that what was negative, they took it and, made it into their superpower, because they managed, and I think it's so incredible. I have a friend who has, how do you call that? I keep forgetting it. It's not when you can't write, when you don't scramble the letters, you scramble the numbers. The numbers.
Dyslexic.
Yeah. And yeah. And he's working in IT. And I think that's so incredible.
And they're all gifted. And it's a gift. I mean, they're very gifted.
Yeah. And it's really incredible how how that person really thrives from that. And it's incredible, to do that, and to make, and I think that's why why your work is so important, to actually show the children, hey, no, you're not dumb. No one should tell you you're dumb. No one should tell you you're not enough, you're not good, you're amazing. And if you hone that wonderful beauty that you have inside of you, it's incredible.
And that's what really a coach does. And again, this brings me back to my point on the difference between a parent and a coach. When a parent says, I'm not good enough, that's why I'm not going to hire a coach, because if I hire a coach, it means I'm not a good enough parent. No, because let's say in a situation like this, a parent is normally very clouded with emotion and is not able to see what the child can really do. Yeah. And that's what a coach does, right? When a coach looks deep down into the growth areas and pulls that strength out of them and continuously makes them work on their strength, they can go to different levels. Because I get this very often, and this is and I'm trying to send more and more messages across, and I talk about this every talk of mine, is when a parent says, I am not going to get my child doesn't need a coach. I'm there for my child. It just means I'm not a good parent if my child needs a coach. That's not true.
That's so beautiful. And it's actually, you can just take it as a journey together. Because I mean, as a parent,
exactly,
you can go and find your own coach.
No, and not only that, when I coach children as well as parents, because I think it's very important for them to go hand in hand. So if I take a child once a week, a parent normally, I mean, depending on their availability, depending on what they're willing to do, either it's once a week or once in 2 weeks, but I coach both the children and the parents together. And then we do certain sessions where, if needed, where the parent and the child also come together at the same time.
Oh, wow, that's even better, because I mean, as a parent, it gives you the opportunity to learn and grow with your own children. And that's so beautiful, because I mean, children always the first ones they mirror is their parents, and later it's everybody else. But in the first moment, and if however you deal with your problems, that's what your children are going to take on, and do it for themselves. And if you have that, if you go with your child to do that, that's like showing your child, hey, we're doing this. And I didn't I didn't have a child father relationship with my shamanic teacher that I think I mentioned him earlier. But he was a teacher like that too with me, because he was like, I'm teaching you what I know, but then we're going to go and learn together from others. So that was, a different level of also of vulnerability that you were saying earlier, to really see, hey, we're humans, we're all humans, and we're all on a path, and we can all learn. And that's wow, that must be an amazing motivation for a child to go like, oh, my parents are going there too, and we're doing this, we're doing this as a family. This must,
and actually,
I don't
it's
know how.
inspiration for the child. It's very inspiring.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's so incredible. I can imagine for the whole family system, this must bring the family together in a way like glue. Afterwards, they're gonna be like glue. Nothing can go in between that. That's beautiful. How often do you have both parents? Because that's another question. Like, do they always
Normally
come together?
Well, not necessarily, but normally I have both parents, because if parents have decided to get their child a coach, then they're both invested, because it's a decision that both parents need to take to get a child to the coach. And normally, I have both parents, unless one parent is busy or something. And then if I feel that both parents need to be present for this session, then I ask for both parents if one is present.
Nice. And how often do you have single parents?
A lot of them. I have a lot of single parents who are a lot of single women, a lot of men who are single parents, and the other parent is either not emotionally present or not physically present, and they're struggling with it. So all kinds of people. I'm actually speaking at a summit next week, which is a single mom summit, single mom business women summit, which is coming up, Donna Chmeretz. So yeah.
Yeah, because I can imagine that's a hard one as well, because as a mom, especially for the single moms, and the same for single dads, in the reverse, you have to be mother and father to the children, and
I'm a
the other
single
way
mother.
around too. See?
I'm a single mother. My son is now 19 years old. So yes, I can totally relate to them,
Yeah.
because being, like you said, being both parents and one parent is hard.
Because I mean, sometimes you have a sort of good relationship with the ex-partner, and they're still there a little bit, but you're still, sometime, you're by yourself with the children, and the other way around as well. So, um, I think that's something to take into account as well, especially for the feeling like you're good enough, because I mean, you have your own story from the separation itself, and then having to deal and support your children with everything is also another strength that you have to come up with at that moment. That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for supporting them as well, because it's so important.
It's such a joy. Can I tell you? It's such a joy.
Yeah.
And somebody tells me, "Oh, you can happily have my teenagers," and I happily take them. They're such a joy.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much. Maybe one more question, as to, because you said already, create, as a parent, create the safe space so that, you can get into conversations. What would you say would be the first step for the kids to do, when they start to get support? What is the first thing that you start, when you start working with them? What's the first thing what do you start with them, with the kids?
Identifying their strengths and their growth areas.
Mhm.
So my first chat is always about, my first session is always about understanding who you are. So it's really discovering you.
Mhm.
Because how many of us really take the time to sit down and identify what are my strengths and what are my growth areas? So unless and until you discover who you are, and then in that session, because we've identified the topmost strengths, these children come up with a whole new set of strengths that they didn't even know existed, or growth areas that they didn't even know existed. And that's normally the starting point. And then we set certain goals, because coaching is all about, as you know, coaching is all about moving forward.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about setting goals. It's all about identifying the opportunities, what you can work with, what are your strengths, where do you think you struggle, and how is it that you can change all of that to maximize what's coming your way.
Yes, that's so beautiful, because it's all about learning how to cope with everything, right? How to deal with whatever life is throwing at us, and yeah, that's true.
And becoming that individual, that balanced individual who can take on anything.
Exactly. So whatever comes from life, you're going to be trusting again, because I think it's about one big part, I think, is also coming back. That's one of the things that I do with my clients, is come back into the trust in yourself, trust in, in the universe and your surrounding, that to trust that there is also good happening, not just, because anxiety is basically being afraid of your surrounding, and when you go back into trust, it's like you're coming back into that field of compassion, and this field of warmth that we have actually when we're children, when we're small ones.
Yeah. And when you're taking failure, when you're not taking failure as failure, you're taking failure as a learning opportunity. Like every time you fail, there's something that you need to learn from that, so that you can move an inch closer to who you're becoming. And there is no destination, right? It's a journey. So you continue becoming a better version of yourself. Life doesn't get better, you get better.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Yes, it's this. Yes, really. Trust. I love that part with failure. How would you like, or what can you suggest to anybody listening? Because I feel that that's for kids, but especially for I think also for grown-ups out there. Because I feel that, also the older generation, and sometimes we are passing that on to our kids. that failure, that we feel like failure is wrong, that that's something wrong. And I think it's so incredible because when we look at small children, they fall, then they get up, they fall, they get up, they fall, they get up. And at one point, they don't fall, and then they keep on walking. So for them, it's normal to have that failure every now and then. How would you suggest, or what's the first thing that you can suggest to anybody, how to tap into that feeling that failure is something bad, how to change that for themselves?
By understanding that failure is important. If you don't have failure in life, then you're not learning. That means you're not moving ahead. Because every time you fail, you identify what you did wrong so that you do it better next time. So if you failed, take that as a learning experience, change your mindset. Turn failure, replace the word failure with a learning experience. And the minute you replace those words, you'll feel that your mind will start processing things very differently. It's all about the language patterns. What is it that we tell ourselves? If we tell ourselves that we failed, oh my God, it's going to be hard to get up. If we tell ourselves, oh, I learned something out of this one, I think I can do it better next time. There you go. You're not going to fail. It's the same thing between discipline and motivation. If you're going to say, I'm feeling demotivated, it means that you're stuck in something, in an event or in an incident where if you don't get external motivation, you're not going to move, right? Versus if you're disciplined, then you don't need to be motivated. You're disciplined. Motivation is doing something when you want to do it. Discipline is doing something even when you don't want to do it. So be disciplined, you won't need motivation. Right? So if you look at failure as a learning opportunity, you won't fail.
Exactly. It's never a failure. I don't know why, but I'm just thinking of I think it's the quote from Edison, with his 1,000 light bulbs that didn't work until he found the 1,001.
Exactly.
In where he says, I didn't fail 1,000 times. I just found 1,000 ways how not to do it.
Correct. That's it. There you go.
And I love that. I love that you're saying that, because for me, everything is, how do I follow the direction where like, how do I, where do I put my energy to? And I can put it into the negative, or I can, change it into the positive, or move it towards the positive, and seeing it as, hey, now now this, I know this didn't work out the way I wanted to. Now I'm going to try it in a little bit different way. And
99% of the times, things are not going to work out the way you want to.
Yeah.
So it's going to work out the way that's best for you. And the sooner you accept that, the less misery you create for yourself.
Thank you. That's a beautiful. Yes, that's so beautiful. Everybody listen to this sentence again. Can you say it again?
I don't remember what I said, but yeah. 99% of the times, things are not going to work out the way. But it is going to work out the way it's supposed to work out for your highest.
And that's perfect.
So it's something that you lost in the past. It's because you were meant to lose it, because it's leading you to somewhere else, which is better for you. And the way you change, the sooner you change that mindset, and as you continue to change that mindset, you'll never go into a negative place. Because then you'll always look at, oh, that happened. Okay. So maybe something else is going to happen. And you begin not to attach yourself to the outcome. And you just flow like the river. You just continuously flow.
I love that so much. Following your flow. That's perfect.
It's just following your flow.
Yeah. And that's how it's supposed to be.
Why do we have misery? Why are people miserable? People are miserable because they're attaching themselves to the outcome. We all are, right? Somewhere we are attached to either people, or we are attached to things, or we are attached to a future, or we are attached to an outcome. And we forget that there is a higher force that's working behind you. All you need to do is not waste any opportunity. Put your maximum into the opportunity. And don't attach yourself to the outcome. Do it and leave it. It's like raising children. You raise the child and then you say, okay, you're free to go now.
Exactly.
But you opened your womb, the life has come out of you, you've taken care of the life throughout your life, and then you've said, okay, now it's time for you to fly.
And you trust in the base that you created for them in the first years that they were with you. Oh, I love that so much. One question: how does, like, if we have listeners here that go like, "Oh my God, I resonate so much with Dr. Unnatti. How can I, like, how does working with you look like? How can they? We're gonna put all your links in the show notes and in the description of the video so that everybody can find you. But how, like, what kind of programs do you offer? Is it just the one-on-ones with the families? I'm calling them one-on-ones, but of course it's one-on-threes basically. But yeah.
I do one-on-ones, I do group sessions, I do group coaching, I speak a lot, I do a lot of talks. So if you're looking to address youth where you want me to come and talk on multiple topics, I'm happy to come and talk. Just identify the topics for me. You can just set up a meeting with me, and we'll put the calendar link in the talk, and then we can see what kind of a talk would you want to do, whether it's group coaching, whether it's classes, whether it's one-on-one. I do all of the above.
Beautiful. So if we have any teachers around here listening in and you're going like, oh yeah, I'd like to, bring this awareness to the kids as well, because I can imagine that, sometimes the kids will hear it in the classroom and then, ask their parents, hey, can we please do this? In case we have kids listening in, if you feel, if you resonate with this episode and you go like, wow, I want to do something about this, there are so many things in school and there's so many things happening and I want to have support. Or if you're listening as a teacher and you want to support your kids a little bit more and you feel like you want to bring this awareness, come and talk to Dr. Unnatti. I think she's going to be able to help you out there. To bring this awareness in, because I think it's so important, and I'm so great, for me, and not because I'm because I'm a coach myself, I do that passionately, but I'm so grateful that we live in a time where this is coming up so strongly for us to really transform and make this more normal. And I'm a fan of making this more normal for us to talk about, mental health, and it's so important to start as early as possible, and I'm a huge fan of all of those things.
And I do a lot of workshops in schools and colleges, and I do a lot of talks in schools and colleges, stuff like confidence, self-doubt, how to master failure, how to build resilience. I do a whole lot of talks. So if you're interested in a talk in a school or a college or in a corporate organization, I do that too. Reach out to me and we can see what we can do together.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest here on my podcast. Do you have like one last wonderful wisdom that you'd like to share with our audience?
You are exactly where you're supposed to be.
You are exactly where you're supposed to be. That's Ika Ponomea in Hawaiian. I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Unnatti, for being here. It was amazing.
You, May. It was lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very grateful to be on your channel. And I do hope that you've had people listen more and more to this and become more self-aware. There's only one of you. There isn't another one like you. So don't waste it.
Yes. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody to tune in, to have listened in. Please, if you can, we'd love to hear your highlight from today's episode. Just leave it in the comments of the video or send us an email if you're a podcast listener. Let us know. We'd love to hear what your biggest takeaway was from today's episode. With this, thank you so much, everybody. And as always, serve your energy wave. And I hope to hear and see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.